Okay, so we'll talk about class and objects. Okay, so we have seen that in Python, everything is considered as objects, right? So, or everything is considered as class. So when we create a variable integer, and when we saw the type, it showed us as class integer, right? Similarly, class list, right? Everything is shown as list. So what is everything is shown as class. So what is class? Okay, so one second. So we're saying that what is class, right? So class is in simply, it is a collection of variables and functions together. Okay. So when you say class, you put some variables and some functions together. So if you remember, when we did list or tuple or dictionary, right? So we called like append, right? List dot append. So append is a function which is part of a class. But in what way they put these things together? So each of these class mean a specific it has a specific meaning. Okay. So for example, when I say apple, right? Now, when I say I'm eating apple, you will understand what I'm talking about, right? You will not ask me question what is apple because you already know what apple is, right? So then I'll say that, okay, I'm eating an apple. You won't be surprised. If I say I'm playing cricket with apple, then you'll be surprised, right? You say, how can you play cricket with apple, right? So because you don't associate, okay, playing cricket with apple. So something same thing goes with class here. In class, you define certain feature properties, you define certain properties for a class, and what you define you can use, what you don't define you can't use, right? Like for example, list, I can use append, but I cannot use something called as insert at whatever, right? You have insert, but you don't have insert at. So just to tell you that there are certain properties that we define. Okay, and once you define, it becomes easy to refer, right? For example, now we all know what list is, right? I don't have to tell you again and again what list means, right? Same thing is class, you define once, but when you use it, okay, so you have to use it like an object. Okay, so that's the difference between class and object. So definition is class. When somebody told you what apple is, maybe when you were in LKG, UKG, somebody must have told you what is apple. So that becomes your class definition. But just by knowing what apple is, just by knowing what list is, you can't use it. You have to create a list to use it. So we have to create object. And definition is always once, right? Once you know what apple means, you don't have to know again, right? But when we are using it, if I say I'm eating apple, that means I am holding an apple, and I can eat two apple, right? We have thousands of apple. So those are usable form is your object. The definition form is your class, right? So object oriented programming language, okay, is a way of programming, okay, the way it's a way of programming, okay, which mimics real world situation. For example, if you talk about this class itself, we are all here for this session, right? So at this moment we are here to do this session, but after this session, we will all have our own stuff, right? You will go and do your own stuff. I'll go and do my own stuff. So your life or your purpose is not just attending class, right? And this is what happened. So far, the programming that we did, okay, the programming was on specific thing. Okay, you do that, and then that's the end, right? You want to add a value to a list, you add a value to a list, that is it, right? But now we are saying no, list can be used, okay, in multiple ways. And appending is just one part, one property of list. Okay, so that's why class and object is called as actual the way we perform things in our life. Okay, there's a mimicking of that situation in class and objects. So we'll take some examples to see how data is saved within class. But yeah, that's the purpose. Let's focus on that today. and then it has some properties as well. And as we go along, we'll talk about those properties also. So first, I just said class needs to be defined once, okay? And then you can create multiple objects. How do you define class? So you define class using keyword called class. So I'm going to say class books, let's say. So I have defined a class called books, okay? Now I have to write the properties here. What are the properties of this class? We have to write them here, correct? If you don't write them, then how will it know what properties it has to use? So you have to say here class books colon, and now we add variables and methods. Okay, the functions which are part of a class are called methods. Okay, so that's the difference. Function is without, when yesterday we created module, right? Day before when we met, we created module. So in module, you call them as function. When your function is standalone, we say function. But when your function is inside a class, we call them as method. That's the only difference. Okay, everything else is same. Now, so what are the members of class? I said members of class can be your variables and functions, right? Or methods, right? Now, there are again two types of, okay, members. One, you have object level member and class level member. For example, if I ask you, what is the shape of an apple? What is the answer? Okay, all you'll give some answer, right? Shape of apple, you'll say, okay, it is like this. Now, all apples have same shape, correct? But if I ask you, what is the cost of an apple? Then you'll ask me. Talking about Fiji apple or Kashmiri apple or this apple or that apple, you're talking about price in Hyderabad, you're talking about price in Delhi, in Chennai, or Mumbai, right? So now you want to be very specific. There are few things which is general for all the members of the class. Those are called your class level members, right? Properties which are common to all the objects like shape, maybe. And let's say if we exclude green apple, then the color red is also true for all the apples. But if I talk about price, size, okay, taste, then you will probably go down to each object that is specific to the object that you are talking about. So those are your object level members, right? Object level members which are unique or different for different objects, and class level members are common for all the objects. Okay, so now we ended up talking about four different things: object level variable, object level methods, class level variables, and class level methods. So today's topic is to talk about how to declare these four members. Okay? Okay. So let's say you have a library, okay, and you have multiple books here. So I'm going to declare a variable called as total books. Now, total books, okay, we'll talk about number of books you have in the library. Okay. Now, if books is your class, total member, total books, will that be a class level member or a object level member or variable? It's of course it's a variable, right? You are measuring how many books. It's a variable. So is it a class level variable, object level variable?
Object.
No, it's a class level, isn't it? No matter, okay, so books, you add 100 books, 1,000 books, right? Each of the books are different. But how many books? It's not specific to the object. Total answer, right? So you don't say, okay, if you talk about book A it is 5, book B is 10. No, total book is irrespective of the objects. Okay. So this
Uh,
will become
but
class level.
sorry, but when we're not defining this with a class name as well, right?
We are
So
not
we need to
defining this with
define.
class. No, no,
Uh,
I'm just asking you generally, total books is
okay,
not
okay, in
dependent
general.
on the object, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Total book is not dependent on the object. So class level variable is declared in the class. So see, I have written class books here, isn't it? And under that, I have said total books. So
Mm.
logically, total books is a class level variable, right? Okay. Logically, it is a class level variable and it is declared in the class. Of course, all the four members will be declared in the class, but the way we declare is different. Okay. Now, so this is your class level variable. Now we'll talk about object level methods, let's say, or object level variable, let's say. Now, if I talk about title of the book is not common for all the books, correct? So title of the book has to be object level. So what we do in that case, we put a self dot say title. Okay, let's say I write ABC. Now this self dot title, okay, and I'll talk about the meaning of self in some time. Okay, I want to, but you have to make it different than total books, isn't it? Because it's object level. So let's say I put self dot title, but you see, you cannot declare this variable in the class itself, because if you declare in the class, then it becomes common for all the objects. So I will create a object level method, and in that object level method, I will declare this, so that that method and that variable will be specific to the object that is calling that method. So how do you declare a method? Def method name. I'll say add info or something. Okay. Now you see PyCharm has automatically given self here. Okay. And what I'll do is I will put this inside the method. Okay. Now what is self? Okay. Now self indicates that it is a, okay. Now if I don't mention self, okay, then a class will not know whether you're talking about, okay, you're talking about class level variable or object level variable. In this case, since we are putting inside the method, so it is class level method or object level method. So when you put a keyword, okay, any word for that matter, need not be self. I can put ABC, XYZ, okay, I can put XYZ also. So whatever you put here, that's the default parameter. Method will have default parameter. Now, if you remember, all the methods that we have used, string, list, dictionary, by default, each of them had self in the beginning, and we never gave that value to that, right? So we said that we'll discuss later. We don't give value because that is just to indicate that it is an object level method. We don't have to provide value to XYZ. Okay, it is just to indicate that it is object level method. Okay. So here I'm saying add info XYZ, and then wherever inside this method you use XYZ, it becomes object level variable, object level method. Okay. Now international practice, okay, is to put self. So we will follow the standard. Okay. The standard is to put self. So we'll follow a standard, but it need not be. You can have your own, right? And we discussed, right? If we create our own stuff, then people who are reading our program will get confused. So that's why we have some international coding standard and we put here self. But as I said, it need not be. Whatever you give here, same thing you have to give here. Now, if I again put this variable here, then what happens whenever object creates add info, every object will have same name, right? Of course, we don't want every object to have same name. We want object to have different name, right? When I add a book, the book title will be different. So what should we do? We will make it pass a parameter. Okay, so when you call add info, value to the self will be automatically passed, and to the title, we will pass a specific title. And here I will say title. Now see, in this example itself, we have three types of variables. This is your class level variable. How do you know it's class level variable? Because I have declared outside any method directly in the class. So this becomes a class level variable. So this is your class level variable. This is your self dot title is your object level variable. Okay, this will be attached to the object which will create this class, because I cannot use this class by itself. I have to create an object, and that object will create this class, right? That object will create this class. So the object will have the value, okay? That is your self dot class. So self dot is object level, total books is a class level. And this is like your normal function, neither a class nor object. So your scope of that function remains within that block. So when I pass here, and at this function only, in this function or this method only, the value of title will be there. Outside this function, the value of title will not be there. But outside this function, you will have your class level and object level variable. We don't have to pass. Okay, when we write one more method, okay, you will see that what I'm saying. So the object level and class level values will remain common in the entire class. But your title will not work. Okay, title will only have the value where you use it, right? Just like our normal program. So this is like a normal variable. So scope of this title will be within add info. Once you are out of add info, title will not be even accessible. But that's not the case with class level and object level. We'll see that. Okay, so let me add only one value for now. So this is called add info. Now I will add one more method called as display info or print info. Okay, so I'll say def print info. Again, this is object level. I'm not going to pass any value, so I'm not adding anything. And I'll say print title of the book is, and I'll say self dot title. All right. So this is a simple class. I have not yet used class level method. Okay, but that's okay. Let's not use it for now. Now, okay, so now this is a simple class. Now, if I execute it, just like executing a function, right? It will not have any impact. You won't be able to see it, anything. Okay, you have to first create an object. Now, again, just to add, module can have both functions and classes. Modules will have both functions and classes. So you can put a class here, you can put a function here, okay, and that can be used as your in module, okay. Okay, so this is a simple class, okay, all good so far. Now I'm going to use an object. I'm going to create an object. How do you create an object? You say object name. I'll say book 1 equal to books and bracket. This is how you create object of class books. This has created object of class books. How many objects we have created? One. You have only one apple, right? Now I can create another one. Book 2 dot books. Right? So now I have created second object. Now I can say book 3 equal to books. So now I have created three objects. It's like creating three different lists. I'm creating three different object of class books. For consistency, let's put space here, but doesn't matter here for Python. Okay, great. So three objects are created. Now let's add values to book 1, book 2, book 3. So I'm going to say book 1 dot add info. Okay, I'm going to say learn and practice Python programming. Okay, now I will add title to book 2 also. Book 2 dot add info SQL programming, let's say. Book 3 dot add info. We'll say here machine learning, let's say. Okay, so we added these 3 values. Okay, now let's try to print this. So if I print book 3 dot print info, so see book 3 dot print info, it says self dot title, right? Now object will create the duplicate copies of the classes. Class definition is only one. So when I say book 3 dot print info prints self dot title. So it knows, Python knows or class knows what value should come here. So because we are saying book 3, it will go and check what title is associated with book 3. It is machine learning. If I say book 2, it's going to be SQL programming. It knows how to link your variable. The object level variables will be created duplicate number of times or will be duplicated for each object. And it maintains that relationship. Book 2 is SQL, book 1 is Python, book 3 is machine learning. It knows how to do that. Clear? Easy? Okay. Now, okay, now we'll add few more information. Let's say here I'm saying add info title, author, and let's say price. 3 things I want to print. Self dot author equal to author, self dot price or self dot cost equal to price. Okay. Now I can go and print here. Title of the book is author of the book, cost of the book. Oops, what happened to print? Title, and here you have author. Okay, so author. Okay. All right. So now when I call this, what happens? Missing 2 required arguments, right? It is expecting author and price also, right? So let's say I'll make it shorter. You don't have to put such a big this thing. Now author. Such in price, let's say $3.99, right? So here I'm going to say Virat, say $2.99. Here I'm going to say Rohit, $4.99. Right, now you run it. So you see, we are calling book 2 print info. So you have MING, right? Something wrong here. Yeah. So you see, information from book 2 is printed here. Okay. Now, total books we have not been using, isn't it? So total book is to count how many books you have created in the library, how many books you have added. So what I will do okay, so now see, this is the best, okay, add info looks to be the best, looks to be the best way, okay, look best place to increase the count of total books. Now see, total books count should be increased automatically when object is created. But we don't have access to this part. Next best stuff is that you put it in the add info. But thing is, if I forget to do add info, then the count will not be increased, right? So in this case, this is the best way. Okay, not the best way, but better way. Okay. So what I will do, total books. Okay. Now, since this is class level, if I put just like that, it becomes a normal variable. So I will say books dot total books plus equal to 1. That means books class name dot total books equal to class name dot total books plus 1. So every time you are doing add info, yeah, okay, you are increasing the count of the book. Right? Okay. Now you see here, I'm going to add a class level method. Okay. Now, how do you differentiate a class level method with object level method? You have to put @ class method. And then you declare like a normal, okay, like a normal function. So now see here, since I put class method, PyCharm has put CLS. Okay, and this is the international coding standard, the code of putting CLS. But again, you can put anything. You can put anything, right? So I'm going to say print, or here I'm going to say print total books in the library are CLS dot total books. Here I don't have to say books dot because I'm already referring class to CLS. Okay. So this is your international coding standard, CLS for class, cell for object. But again, I just said you can use anything. It need not be same. Okay. So this is your way of writing class method. Now I have to call this, isn't it? How do I call it? I can call it anyways. It's a class level, right? So you can say the class name, which is books. Okay, books dot, what is that? Which method is that? Print total, right? Print total. Or you can say book one, doesn't matter whether you say book one dot print total. Okay, all the object will have same value. Doesn't matter whether you call class name dot class method or object name dot object method. Object or variable will be common for all. So all three are saying 3333. Okay, because add info is called 3 times. So far clear? Now we have seen all kinds of members here. We have seen class variable, we have seen object variable, we have seen class method, we have seen object method. And we have seen how to declare them, how to call them, how to call each member of this class, right? So print total is a class method, and this method is accessible to all, of course, and all of them will have same value. Not that book one is created first, so book one will have 1. No, it's not class. It is class level, not object level. If so, object level, if you say book one, you will get Python programming by book one dot title. But book one dot total books will be 3. Okay, so class level methods are available to all the members. You directly can say class level, or you can say object name dot method name for class level. Okay. Now the problem with this method is, let's say if I don't call add info. See, I have created 3 objects, right? We have created 3 objects. So technically speaking, we have 3 book count, right? But if I don't call add info, what happens? You're getting only 2. Because we did not call book1.add info, so that book1 thing is not incremented. It is incremented only 2. And we got wrong value. Okay, so we have an inbuilt method. Inbuilt method with predefined meaning is declared as double underscore name double underscore. So we have something called as init. Okay, so instead of add info, I'm going to say init. Okay, init is a inbuilt method which is automatically called when you create object. So if you have init method in your program, okay, so that means you don't have to explicitly call it. It is available for you. You can call it, it is called automatically for you. When it is called automatically, the moment you create the object. Okay, so creating objects, call init method automatically. Okay, init methods are called automatically. You don't have to specifically call it. So generally when we have to assign, initialize, that's why init is for short form for initialize. So generally when we want to initialize, right, we put it that in the init, because even if you forget to call also, no problem. Right? Now if I have to create a book object, I cannot create a book object without book name. So book name should also be part of your init. Of course, you have to increase the count of the total books. So these are done automatically. Now I don't have to call add info separately. But the problem is when you call this object, right, it is missing 3 positional argument, right? Because in it, you are passing these 3 values. So when you are creating the object, we need to pass these 3 values here. So initialize is done automatically if you call init function and perform what is required to be initialized. The best part is you don't have to call explicitly, isn't it? You don't have to call explicitly. Now, you can't forget, right? There's no chance that you can forget this. Yeah? So now let's see. Okay, book 1, book 2, book 3, I've added all these 3 values. Now it is called automatically. This is now our discussion about class is complete. We have not done properties, we have to do properties. We'll do the properties later, but this is how our discussion on class is complete. So class will have object level variables inside object level method. Initialization is done using init function. Why? Because init is called automatically. The moment you create an object, I know 25, 26, 28, the moment you create an object, init function is called automatically. And you can have multiple methods performing each of the task, right? And you can easily call the methods in your main program. So if it is class level method, the values printed displayed will be same, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how you call it, whether you call using class or you call using object name, value will be same. But object level method will have object specific values, isn't it? So that's how they are different and common, whatever you want to call it. With me? Okay. Now, can we write our own class and object program? We'll write our own class. Okay. And see again, just like we did their name equal to main, you can do it here as well. So that when you call this, if you create this as, if you use this file as a module, you will not have any problem, okay, calling all these things here. So I can say here, if name equal to main, right? Perform all this. So when you run this file prog1, you get all the answer. But in py18, I can say import prog1. And now I'm going to say b1 equal to books. Okay. Now what is books? It is prog1 dot book, right? So prog1 dot books. Okay. Now when you're creating this object, you have to pass the variables, right? 3 variables. Now you see here, when I say book, okay, I have to pass, here you see, self books. So that is self colon books. So that is self, you don't have to worry. Okay. Then it says that you are missing title, author, and price. Cursor is blinking, saying title, then author and price. So title, you can put it as, let's say, data analytics. Author, will put it as Saurabh. Price, will put it as 298. Right? Now you can say b1 dot print info. Right? So that's it. Now I have to go and call py18. You see? This is how you got. You can create a class and you can reuse later. All right. We'll take one small program. We are going to create our own class to perform, let's say, you can have multiple classes in a file. You can have multiple classes just like you can have multiple functions in a file. Okay, so I'm going to create another class called author, let's say. Class authors, or instead of author, let me call it as library, okay? Library. Okay, so total library, total lib equal to 0, I'll say, and I'll say def init. Sorry. I'll say name of the library, location, and pin code, let's say. So I'm going to say self dot name equal to name, self dot location equal to location, LOC, self dot pin equal to pin code. Okay, now I'm going to simply call another function called def print. I'm going to use same function name, okay? print info, let's say. Print info. Okay, self, and then I'm going to say here print library, and I'll say self dot name. Okay, print location. So I'm going to print this in a little different way. I'll say F or I'll put here like this. Let's say location colon self dot location and colon, and then I'll say self dot pin. Yes, it pick I wrote. Oh, pin. Okay. So now if I have to call this, I'll simply go and I say L1 library1 equal to prog1 dot library, right? And here I have to pass three things again. So ABC International Library, let's say location, Hyderabad, pin code 500081, right? So now when I print this L1, so L1 dot print info. You see, books also has print info, L1 also has print info. Okay, this is another way of programming. When you want to print, okay, if you want, see, when we spoke about, say, adding list and adding tuple, right? So when you join, okay, the best way to perform putting two lists together or two tuple together or two string together is to put plus sign. But plus sign has different meaning. Plus, when you put 5 plus 3 has different meaning than hello plus world, right? So this is called overloading, and this is what we are doing. We are putting print info and we have print info for both, because logically print info makes sense, right? Now, if you did not had concept of class and object, so imagine, okay, I would have had to write so many print info 1, print info 2, print info 3, print info 1 for books, print info 2 for library, print info 3 for something else, print info something else, right? I cannot reuse those methods because all methods are common, right? I cannot reuse. I cannot say print for two different things. But using class and objects, you can still reuse the same method, isn't it? That's the beauty. So what is the difference between this print info and this print info? This is coming from books and this is coming from library. There's no problem with that. So now when you run it, you see, it says library, ABC International, location, Hyderabad. Instead of colon, let me give hyphen. So I'll say hyphen here. Now I go and I run this. So you see, Hyderabad. So this is how you can call the members. Okay. So we'll stop here today. Tomorrow when we connect, we'll talk about different properties of class and objects. What are different properties? We'll take same example and we'll do it. But I want to give you an assignment for today. I want you to create a simple class. Okay. And if you can show me tomorrow, it will be great. Create a class called my math ops and add functionalities for addition, subtraction, power, multiplication, and division. So you'll have one init and you will have 5 different methods: addition, subtraction. Okay. In fact, if you want to make it even more better, okay, so I can write, you should have following methods. First method init to get the values, to get two values. Then add. So you will say calc add to perform addition. Then you will say display add to print total value. Okay, and I'm going to copy and paste for other four. Power, subtraction, multiplication, division, right? So you can say calc div, display div. Different function for calculation and different for displaying. Calc power, sorry, I got confused with the numbers, okay? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So in it, calc add, calc display add. Then this will be calc subtract, sub, display, sub. Then calc power, display, power. Calc multiply, display, multiply. Okay, so do this, and tomorrow we'll talk about different properties, okay, of class. We'll talk about inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, okay, and encapsulation. So these are the four properties. We'll talk about them tomorrow.
Okay, sir.